Alright, so we left off with just these 3 squares done. And I said I was going to do these 2 squares so we could do the center square, which I did, but I also went ahead and did this square up here so that it'd be a little quicker, because these are just all this. These 2 are just a repeat of square number 3. Okay, so let's move these things out of the way for a minute. And let's just deal with these squares. I have all of my ends woven in, with the exception of these that have not been worked a second time. This one will be woven in as this side is done. These will be woven in as these sides are done. So, except for that, all of my ends are woven in. Hooray! It's very clean back here. Also, there's all of these little stitch markers in my final stitches, and I leave them until I'm completely done with the square. Till this square has no more sides that need to be knit on. And I'll explain why. That will become clear as we do this next big 4 square right in the middle there. We're going to start with our gray. Now, because it's 4, we're gonna start in this square, pick up 16, go down this square, picking up 16, weaving in these ends as we go, weaving in these 2 ends as we go, then go across here, no ends to weave in here, pick up our center stitch, then 16, then 16. Alright, so let's get started. I've kind of measured out my gray for how much I want for my tail. I'm going to put my needle into that stitch and get going picking up my stitches. I want to pull my tail tight, and again, like I've done the whole way, I'm going to weave in these ends as I go. Like I said in the other tutorials, the first and the second square, and the second and the third square, sorry, I pick up my stitches on the bar of this stitch that is the closest to me. Again, just weaving in my end, lifting it up. It takes a little bit of time, but it's worth it. Now, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going with this until I'm here, and then I'll be back to show you what I do with this stitch marker. Alright, so here we are, and we've got 16 stitches here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Now, I am going to take this stitch marker out and put it on my right needle. Then I'm going to carry on and put 16 stitches on this side. Okay, so here we are. We have 16 stitches across here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. And we're ready to do our center stitch. Now, I have a stitch marker here. This one is going to become my stitch marker for my center stitch. And it's always a little bit different when I do my center stitch. What I pick up, I kind of just practice, experiment with what I think is, where I think is going to look best, and how I think that's going to look best to make that center stitch. So I think I'm going to do that this time. Maybe not. There, that's the one. And that's the thing is, when you're picking up your stitches, you need to do it in a way that you're going to like. What you're going to think looks good. Okay, so that's going to be my center stitch. So I'm going to slip the stitch marker around it. Then I'm going to be picking up 16 stitches to here, taking out that stitch marker, putting it on my needle so I have it marked again, and going all the way to the end with 16 more stitches between here and here. So I'll see you when I get all that done. Now I have all of my stitches cast on for this bigger square. Okay, so I have 16 here, 16 here, I have my center stitch, I have 16 here, and I have 16 here. I am going to now work this the same way I worked every single one of these little squares, which is just going back across for my first time, then my decrease, back across, decrease, back across, switch to my middle color, this purple. This is a Sweet Georgia Casualux Sparkle. So the colorway is Bewitched. That's what's going to go next after we do it. I'm going to join in the ends the same way I do. I'm going to get started on that and work until I'm here. So I'm going to work basically this first, the equivalent of one square, and then I'll come back and join you and we'll talk about what happens with these when I get to them. Alright, so here we are, and we have this big square all the way down to the last stitch in the middle. And these 16 stitches have been knitted, and we're about to do our first center double decrease of our last section of this square, which is going to take out these two, that has to take out these two stitch markers. We're going to have to get rid of these. Now, where do these go and what do they do? I kind of do something a little bit special with them. So I take them out. Then I'm going to do my double decrease. Slip two as if to knit two together, knit one, slip those two over the top. Finish up these 16 stitches, and then I'm going to turn around and do the first couple of stitches in this row, so it's not super hangy-on-y. Then I'm going to put my stitch marker right through this edge stitch right there. Let's see if we can make sure we see that. So right through that edge stitch right there. Lock it up. Now that is my indicator of my 16 when I'm picking up this side. I'm going to knit all the way across and put it in that edge as well, and put the other one, the second stitch marker, in that edge as well. As I turn it over to the front, I'm going to put it right through. I'm going to put it right through that stitch right there. That's going to mark my 16. Now, I'm going to just knit back and forth, decreasing, continuing the decrease until I run out of stitches, like I've done all the other squares. Just for ease of seeing it, I'm going to move that stitch marker up around the center stitch. So we've just got one more square left. I've done this one, and this one, the equivalent of 3 squares now, and I've just got this one left. So I'll meet you when we're done. Alright, so here we go. We're down to our last 3 stitches here. And so we're just going to work our center double decrease, slipping those 2 as if to knit 2 together. Knit 1, pass these 2 stitches over. Move our stitch marker up. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this. Then I'm going to double check and make sure that I have these stitch markers in the right place. So what I want is for this stitch marker to be on the knit ridge, on the ridge that's in between, leaves 16 like valleys on either side. So I'm going to spread this out so it's a little easier to count. Then using my needle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Because this is where I'm picking up my stitches. So I want to make sure I have 16 here. Now I'm going to move my stitch marker, and I'm going to count these to make sure I have 16 on either side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. That's my last stitch right there. Do the same thing here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And the stitch marker's right there in the middle. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, so we've got the stitch markers in the right place. We've double checked that. Because our stitches are picked up, we want to make sure we have the 16 ridges, and that's nice when that's easily marked. It makes it easy. As we're picking it up, let's check out the back of our work. So we've got a little straggler right there. And all of our other ends are woven in. So we're good. It's a pretty nice looking back. Alright. So The next two squares we're going to do are this one that's here that will take up 2, whoops, this one that's here that will take up 2, and then this one across the top that'll be 2. So we'll have our vertical 2 and our horizontal 2. Alright, so that's it for this time. Next, we've got our big 4 square done, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then next time we'll take a look at either the horizontal or the vertical. I hope you found value in this tutorial. If you have, please consider a one-time payment via PayPal or a regular subscription via Patreon. The links are down below and they are on the screen. Again, thank you for joining me. See you next time.